Welcome back to my channel, and I'm just gonna do a little story time, or I should say a quick story time. I got some feedback on some things people would like to see or hear from me. It's not gonna be anything serious, but my favorite question that I was asked recently was, and yes, I'm sitting on the floor because I'm really comfortable, my muscles are sore, and I'm drinking some alkaline water. I know it's kind of freaky because it's in a can, but to me it makes it taste really good. It makes it taste really cold. So, but I was asked which sport did I play when I was younger that I did not like, and what were any bloopers that happened with sports when I was younger. I consider martial arts a sport and a practice, mostly because I feel like it takes a lot of discipline, or it teaches discipline. But I was in maybe the third or fourth grade. I was really young, and my brother and I had to take it per our dad's, you know, instruction. So that was the thing we were gonna do. That was the same. And the only reason why I didn't like that is because I was super girly, and I wanted to do my own type of stuff, but we just had to do that. We were pretty small kids in stature, so I know he just wanted us to be strong and be able to defend ourselves. But there were a couple of things about Tae Kwon Do that I just despised. Not even a couple of things, it was several. The first being that I know it's not true now, but because I was so girly, I felt like it was making me be like a man or something. And I hated the uniform. I don't know if you would call it a uniform. I can't remember what it was called. A lot of those memories I tried to break free from or suppressed. But I didn't like it because once my mom washed it, they came up to right here, the pants did, and our legs were like this big, and it just looked terrible because we had to wear flip-flops to the class. It just looked a mess. It was at the wrong time of day. It was right after school. We had to do our homework in the little lobby before we went in because mom didn't want us to go all the way home, do our homework, and come all the way back out. And she was the type of mom that she cooked every single day from scratch at an appropriate time of day. So the food was always ready. It was always really good. But I felt with Tae Kwon Do, we wouldn't get back to the house till maybe 7:30, and we were used to eating at 5 or 5:30. I just felt like the food was not the same. It was like, and it was still good, but I just felt like it was robbing us of after school shows and the usual food. But anyway, that was small compared to the other things I hated about it. I didn't like it because it was a contact sport where you had to break the boards and the cement blocks. And that just made me so cringe because it just looked like a splinter. But I never got injured from breaking all that stuff, but I just hated it. And we had to call, I'm going to say the head instructor or the owner, we had to call him Master. I'm going to call him X. I'm not going to say the last name because Chattanooga's small and I don't want them to think I'm bashing them or something. But baby, we had to call him Master X. And it's something about, a little brown person. I don't know how I feel about calling somebody master or something. And I know it's because it's the master of their craft or whatever. It just sounded a mess. We always had to submit ourselves. When you enter class, you had to say, if you were late, well, of course, if you enter class when you were on time, of course, you had to bow. But when you entered late, you had to say, may I enter into class, sir? And do like that. And I guess wait for whoever was instructing. It wasn't always Master X. It was whoever was higher up in a belt was able to instruct that day. So between that and there wasn't there weren't any brown kids. Now, there was this one guy, he was a teenager, and he was pretty cool or whatever, but my brother and I, we just felt real funny about that. It's different because at school we were used to it, but something about it just felt weird. So I didn't see any brown girls, but there were not even girls my age in it. Now there were some girls, they were maybe 15 or 16, and they were always really nice to me. But I just felt like it was just such a mean environment. We couldn't laugh at anything. And I feel like if you're playing a sport or doing something, especially that young, it's good to have fun. I did not have a day of fun. There would be stuff I'd be wanting to laugh at, and everybody that knows me, I cannot handle when something is funny and I can't bust out laughing. And I'm gonna laugh now. It could be church. If somebody falls down at a funeral, it's gonna be hard for me. I have to go outside. Shoot, even my own, I might raise up out the casket and laugh. I don't know. That's just me. I'm silly. I love to have fun. I like to take a stern situation and just kind of, not that I don't take anything seriously, but goodness, there's only so much sternness you could have, especially if you're not my family. Like you sitting there frowning, telling me what to do. I gotta bow to you, all this kind of stuff. That was not it. But anyhow, so two little brown kids, and sometimes if I had on socks and sneakers for school, I would forget to bring lotion. So I would have to go in there ashy, but since it wasn't that many brown people, nobody really would notice that you were ashy. So one day we were about to start, and everybody sits on the mat lined up according to their belt, unless you have gaps. So whoever's late is gonna have to get in where they fit. I think that's how it went. So this man, I was just telling this story, but this man came in. His real name, I remember, is Jeff, but we didn't call him that, and everybody knows I nickname. That's one of my things. So he came in, he was brown, and he was older at the time. And I say older, I mean, I'm in my 30s now, so I guess he was in his 30s, and we were in elementary. I think my brother was in the 5th or 6th grade. So by this time, we were, I think, maybe a brown belt. I can't remember, but he was just starting off as white belt. No, it might not have been brown belt, but anyway, it wasn't a white belt. So we were higher up than him, and he was just starting, and so that raised eyebrows. He was like big, well, not big like boom. He was just bigger, and he had this hair. It was tied back in like an afro puff thing, and the top part was like, when I put my hair back in a ponytail, since I have bangs, I have like this part that sticks up like Sonic when I have a put. So his was like that, but it was puff. And it was the first time I ever saw a man with puffed hair with a color in their hair. It was supposed to be a highlight, but he just looked like he dipped his head back into some yellow paint because it was real dry and burnt up. This man came into class late. Mind you, it's super quiet. I don't think we had stretched yet, so it was just quiet, and everybody had just sat down. And it wasn't Master X that was in front of the class. It was another person that was a black belt. And Jeff, came into class, came through like the threshold part, and he was about to sit down, and so everybody was looking at him like, aren't you supposed to say something? He was like, oh. And then he said, may I enter in the class, sir? But when he bent down like that, he went, brr. he passed. It was was right when he bent, it was right when he bent down. So the thing with me is between someone falling or if they pass gas and it's super quiet, I can't handle it. I will just have to take the L and get in trouble. I've been at jobs where I've gotten in trouble because I couldn't keep it together. And I know that's something I'm working on, work in progress, but Lord have mercy, 36 years of busting out laughing, baby. I probably came out the womb like that. But y'all would have laughed too. It was so loud, and it came right after he was, men in class, sir. And then so he got permission, and there was a gap. Like I said, we were higher up than him. He sat right beside me. And the first thing, aside from about to die laughing, his feet and his pants were short too. Maybe everybody's pants were just like that. So he was light skinned. I'm dark skinned. You could see the ash on me. And that's when I was doing outside stuff like softball and all that. So I was way darker than I am now. So the ash used to look like somebody took powder and went on my legs. He was light and you could still see the ash. So all I saw was the feet. His toes, the toenails, the feet looked like this. Like the nails were like this, but they were pointed like a stiletto nail. And they were really white, like he had a French manicure. It wasn't, but it's just that the nail was so long. So I was just sitting there doing like this at the feet. And he's late, and he passed gas, and his feet were looking terrible. So he ends up, we came to the part where we were sparring. And even though sparring, you're essentially fighting one another, but you're supposed to still have some form with it. He was just doing any kind of thing. Have y'all ever seen, those things where you control their back and they punch like that? Or just Street Fighter, like he was just doing all kind of kicks, going everywhere. So he was sparring my brother. And yes, my brother was smaller than him. And yes, he was big. But if you're a white belt, and we had already been trained on how to spar and the different parts of the body, you don't just kick everywhere. Baby, he kept telling first of all, he wasn't even winning. He kept telling my brother, be brutal, like to fight back hard. Shal, if you hit somebody in the face, they'll probably fall down because you're big. My brother, and it's not a sport that you're supposed to be brutal on. It wasn't mixed martial arts. Tae Kwon Do is just, it could be self-defense, but to me, the movements are still a little bit too slow and more of a method than, straight up MMA, you just fighting in the ring and there's blood, So nobody was going to be brutal, and don't show out. You late, you pass gas. And then when he was saying be brutal, my brother thought he was saying, because the way he was talking, my brother thought he was saying Beeboo. He was saying be brutal, but he was saying it so fast, like Beeboo, Beeboo. So he was saying Beeboo. So that was going to be his name. So it's hard for me to say Jeff because I remember the story. This man's name was Beeboo. He looked like his name would have been Beeboo. So my brother won the match because Beeboo was just up in there clowning. Till class was over, and he was trying to talk to us, which was good, young kids and, just trying to see where our head was at. He met our mom out in the little lobby thing. When I tell you, we had a good laugh about Beeboo in the car just because. And we couldn't wait to get in the car because that was our free time. We could laugh, and our mom would listen to us complain because we could not say it to our dad. Because one thing we couldn't do was quit, which I admire, and that's why I don't quit things now. But we couldn't quit. Complaining wasn't an option, but I hated it. I don't know if my brother hated it worse, but I was very vocal because it was nasty in there. They had like this dry rotted punching bag, and I have serious germophobia that I'm praying to get delivered from, but there was water always on the floor, and you had to enter barefoot. So when you went to the restroom, you had to be barefoot up in that nasty thing. It just was a mess. So I complained about that. We laughed about Beeboo. The next time we went, we saw Beeboo again, and I had to spar him. And I hated sparring. I like doing forms because you just sat there. It's like a method. It's more like a practice. You could center yourself, except for when you had to make the noise. It was like, huh! I hated that. Street Fighter. Um, but sparring, I really hated it. And I hated sparring the opposite sex because I know I wouldn't look at it now because strength is strength, but I was like, why am I matched up with this big man and I'm probably like 60 pounds? I don't remember. But it was my day to fight Beeboo. Not fight, spar. But it was a fight. So Beeboo, I don't even know if roundhouse was a part of Taekwondo, but Beeboo did this kick. He spun around and rounded off his leg. So you know the nails are like this. So I put up, I don't think I had pads on the, where you're supposed to have these pads. I don't think I had them that day because when Beeboo swung around like that, his toes caught my arm. And you know if you get a surface cut and it kind of like scrapes the skin at the top. Beeboo's toenails were like knives. If you shave, it's that type of cut that is so little and it bleeds forever. Beeboo tore my arm up. I still won because, like I said, he was up in there clowning. But I was bleeding, and I still remember where the blood, because the mat was just, it looked like forensic files because there was just like splatter of different parts. And even though it wasn't as brutal as other forms of martial arts or boxing or fighting or something like that, people did bleed sometimes when they broke the boards, and people would get cut from discipline. Oh yeah, another thing, Master X, if we did something wrong or something was against the respect of the whatever, he had these bamboo, I think they were bamboo, but they were long, and he would get the back of people's legs and ankles with that. First of all, baby, Shannon Lawrence got one spanking in her whole life, or I should say whooping. Nobody, parents, nobody at church, nobody ever had to discipline me for my parents. If you come in there with a long, whatever that was, and get in the back of people's legs, and I got it one time, and I don't remember what for. I think because I don't remember. Like if your posture was bad, like that was just so disrespectful at the time. I mean, I'm pretty sure the adults, I don't know, because being grown, I don't know. If you hit me with something, I'll fire off. I really won't, but I just like to pretend that I like to fight. And, well, that's probably why I can't fight now, because I hated Taekwondo, and I wasn't trying to retain the information. But Beeboo drew blood. I remember the one spot on the mat, and it turned brown. It was there so long. Dang, that's real nasty. So I hated that. Beeboo tore my arm up. I was mad at him for the rest of his whole existence there. He just did not, he was just too concerned with showing out. We ended up finishing with a black belt, a first degree black belt, and it was over. Mom is the one that stopped that. Like, we didn't want to do it no more. I hated it. I just felt like it was a controlling situation, and my parents said it wasn't cheap, so you're going to pay a whole lot of money. It just felt like constant hazing. Like you never know what you're going to do wrong, and getting punished like that, having to say master and sir. Yeah, please. Never again. If my kids want to do that, they could ask me, my future kids, but I might still fight to say no. I'll teach them how to fight at home. But that was a mess. Like, what? And how is that self-defense? If someone's coming after me, I'm going to sit there and and spar and do fun. Hey, I might, if someone came at me, I might start fighting like Beeboo. Just everything going everywhere. But yeah, I hated it. That was the worst. And there were so many bloopers in that I can't even name. Between me, one time I came in, and after I bowed, I tripped because they had this little threshold thing. And you know, if you're coming in from outside from somewhere and you kick that little kickstand and tore my toe up. I had a lot of sports bloopers in that. I had a lot of sports bloopers in track. I was clumsy. I still am. For me to be a ballerina, sis be falling down. But hey, you have to love me because I'll laugh at myself. But I just wanted to share that with you guys because I couldn't get it out of my head when I saw the question. Everything else that I did, I used to enjoy, but not that. Mm-mm. Those were some bad memories, mostly of getting scolded. That's just not enjoyable. Go to school all day, get cussed out at the thing, be ashy, get home late. It just was no reward. It's not, mm-mm. And how am I going to use that? If someone's coming after me, I got to use some kind of weapon. I'm sorry. These days, nobody fights in the street. And even if I was fighting at school, I'm not going to just kick somebody like I'm in Tae Kwon Do. I'm going to act like Beeboo. I'm joking. But thanks for listening. I love the questions that you guys ask me. It makes for a good story time. So drop a comment below and let me know what sport you hated that you had to do. You know, I know people's parents, people don't make their kids do stuff anymore. You know, we used to have to go outside. We wanted to stay in our room. You know, even if my brother wanted to play the game, you had to spend time outside first. Kids don't, they go straight home, be like, we had to do something. And if you had to be made to do something. And after a certain age, we got to pick. But Taekwondo, not the move. So drop a comment below. Let me know your worst sport experience when you were younger. Or even your best. Hey, anything that makes for a good story. Also, feel free to inbox me. I always take suggestions. And I still do reviews. And I really want you guys to try this. It's so refreshing. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.